Good afternoon. Welcome to Options Tender. We weren't able to do a video yesterday, so we're going to jump on here and do an intraday update and check out a couple of earnings plays by request. We're going to check out MasterCard, Microsoft, and Google. We're going to fly through them. I don't usually play earnings. It's just an observation. They are, when you play earnings like that, it's a gamble. And there's no real edge on what's happening unless you are deep in the fundamentals, and still the odds are against you. So we're going to check those out. But first, we're going to go through SPY on the weekly. I think it's very important to look at this pivot here that we're on right now as we speak. And then we'll move over to the daily and the 65, see if we can learn anything else. Check out the Elliott wave count and see. I do think we have a temporary low in. I know the talk of the town is that earnings are going to be fairly well because of we've had inflation, numbers have been good, and it gives opportunity for companies to do well also. So unless underneath the hood things are happening, then we should see a majority of our earnings play hit on some of those big names. So, all right. If you're new here, go down to that bottom right-hand corner, hit that Options Center logo, and subscribe. Thanks for joining us here. And if you may, the best thing that you could do for this channel is like the video. Please like the video. And if you want to help out in any other way, go down in the description. Those proceeds go to Can't Stop, Won't Stop. It's our advocacy company that we have. My wife and I. Okay, here we go. SPY on the weekly time frame. I started off back here from the bottom of the Corona crash, pivoting up to October lows, and we're on that pivot right now. So this would be a good area for a bounce. We already got a reaction to it. I don't expect a whole lot to come out of this. Okay, we may start to triangulate. We can draw a trend line here and just kind of keep an eye on that sort of play where we triangulate inside of here. Remember, we're looking at this being a 5-wave move now. We broke these lows, and now we're limited on the things that we can do. Now that you have 5 waves, this could be a 1-2-1-2 setup, and we go much lower, or this could be a 5-wave leading diagonal, and then we get a deeper retracement before heading lower. So we're heading lower either way. We just have to play our cards right. All right, let's jump down to the daily time frame. On the daily, trend is our friend. That's still that same pivots there. We're into this this space, this open space here. We got towards the end of it, but we didn't quite touch where we keep talking about these consolidation areas. So if earnings are pretty negative going into tomorrow and the rest of the week, we could see this area quickly, but then I would suspect if we see this quickly down to this support, that's when we get a larger bounce. Okay, so this play here, this leg down, let me dig in a little closer. This leg down may not be complete. I have a good feeling that it is. I think this is a pretty good low. We have a inverse hammer. We got a move up, and I think we may creep a little higher, which would mean that this series is complete, and then we'd be looking for our retracement back, perhaps to the 430 area into resistance. That's what we're playing into. Other than that, price gets down here, we still play for a larger retracement. Okay, I think it's unlikely that we retrace really high here as this being a leading diagonal. It's possible, but I think this is unlikely. I think we're just going to retrace this move here for a wave 1-2. So 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and lower. Let's go down to the 65-minute and just keep a good observation of what's happening here. And now we're going to explain what we see on the lower time frame. And I'll show you some indicators as well. But with traditional technical analysis, there's our low here. If we want to move down, we have this low here. It's our options expected move to the downside and our retracement to the upside, 430. Those perfectly fit both scenarios. Now we're in a bullish falling wedge. I am completely aware that wedges break down all the time in a bear market when you have a falling wedge. So I'm keeping that in mind, but right now we do have some divergence. We're playing out. It appears that we're making a higher low, and I'll show you on the Elliott wave what I'm looking at, and we should break this going into tomorrow and hit our target up to the 430 area. Price action can go lower, and I'd still be in the same camp, and I'll show you why. But let's look at these indicators real quick. On the, let me go ahead and pause it, and I'll. Okay, I had to get my right indicators on there. So let's go ahead and go to the options tender set of indicators. This is what I like to use in combination every single day during the intraday. So we have our MACD came down here to lows. We didn't have any divergence, but we're making a bullish cross. That's a buy signal there. We do have, let me move this green arrow here. We had positive divergence in the RSI. That's starting to play out. We had a downtrend line here. If you make a downtrend, it looks better on the QQQ, and we're back testing, and it appears that we continue to go higher. Had our buy signal on the slow stow, and it's very sensitive, so we're getting this pullback here, and I do think we make a higher low and continue up higher as well. Again, our target is about 430 area, and so let's go over to QQQ. I'll just give you a little visual of that on the 65-minute chart, and it's virtually the same concept, except instead of a falling wedge, we have this descending channel. And so we close a gap. We're getting a little reaction off of it. You saw that there's a little bit of negative divergence there. So we did have some puts. We already took those out. Nice play. Doubled quickly. And they were on SPY. They weren't on Qs. But same thing. This is starting to reset. Slow stow. And we're getting our bullish cross. Now this, again, we can make just a slightly lower low and still hit this trend line a little bit lower for this bull pennant. I'm calling it a bull pennant, but I don't see any bullish scenarios for that. So we could make a slightly lower low with these right here, down low here. Okay, so 350 would be that takeout zone there if things are bearish. I do think this low is in. We can count this both ways, so it's speculation, yes, but I think probability is we move higher. Okay, so let's go back to SPY and check out the Elliott wave analysis. Move over to the hourly Elliott wave. What we were doing here is from yesterday, we had our low, we moved up, and we retraced right into that 62% retracement, which is a perfect setup for a zigzag, and perhaps we got that. I do believe this is at least a zigzag inside of here, which is an ABC. So it's a three-wave move. That correction could be over, and we had lower. But what I suspect is that this is a three-wave move up for A. We're getting a three-wave move, somehow a B. This B could end up being a triangle. It could be anything. A flat. It could be already done. It could be a three-wave move and done here. And that B can go much lower. So you see we have the A there. This B could end up down here to fake us out and then spring higher towards the end of the week here. Okay. The other scenario is that we have our five-wave move. Because this is a zigzag, you have a 5, 3, 5. That this is actually a wave A here. And that B was already done yesterday at the end of the day. And now we're at a 1, 2 setup. And we're starting wave 3. And get a little consolidation for 4. And continue up for wave 5 into the 430 area, which would be our target. So we'll probably see a what happens with earnings if we are pretty strong on most of the earnings especially the big tech, Google and Microsoft, then we'll probably see this move come through fruition, and we'll have that 1-2 set up and 3 into here. If we have some bad earnings from one of those, and one of them perhaps tanks, opens up really, really low, which is possible, maybe we get that B down here where we gap down, and then one of the stronger stocks plus Apple, maybe Apple starts jumping in, starts to pull us, and Nvidia, because Nvidia wants to break out too, maybe we gap down and then we start to head higher for the other scenario. So we're already in here. We're not worried about a gap down. What we are worried about is making a new low. We'll have to recess and continue this as a wave 4, and wave 5 is lower into these territory down here, the 414 to 412 area. Okay, let's jump over to, we should do a Bitcoin. Maybe I'll do a Bitcoin later if we have time, but right now I think we'll check out our few stocks here, a handful of stocks. We'll go start off with MA. We'll go on the daily time frame. Actually, I might as well go on the weekly just to give you a point of view here. I don't cover this stock very often, but you see this is a very good breakout zone. We're back testing that zone right now. We have the 50-week moving average right underneath us. So just being a back test, this could continue higher. This one kind of puts us in a place where I do think there could be a new high with earnings. It's possible, and I'll show you why. We have, it looks better on the weekly. Okay, so with this move up here, we only have a 3-wave move, so that would mean that this correction probably extended B. The bearish scenario would be it's a wave B that made new highs, and then we continue 5-wave move down for expanded flat much lower. So that would be the bearish scenario if we end up pretty bearish on this. The bullish scenario is that we have to finish this off, which is still a bearish scenario, because remember, we're bearish on the market in general. So even if you have some bullish stocks happening here, that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, we have a cross. So this would be an ending diagonal where this is a they're all 3-wave moves for 3-wave move for 1, 2, 3, 4, because we only have a 3-wave move there. For 4, we're crossing over. And this is so far the shortest wave, and so the wave 5 would be shorter than wave 3 by default, by rules. Okay, so it wouldn't be going much higher than the new high here. So that would be our bullish scenario, but then we'd be looking for bearish play out of it. Okay, let's go to Microsoft. And Microsoft is, let's go on the daily time frame. We have more information on there. And so we have this this wedge. We have all these points right here that led us to a decline at the point. Now, if you look at Microsoft, we made new highs here. We're rejecting off of it. And we're in a 3-wave pattern. So let's go down to the daily. We're in a 3-wave pattern right now to the downside, 1, 2, 3. So this could be a bullish situation where it goes higher and takes the market with it, while maybe Google goes lower. And I'll show you why I think that might be the case. We had a slight divergence here on the bottom. So we formed this wedge, broke out from the wedge, and we're testing it now. Now, if this fails, then we have something else going on, and that will be a clear fake break down lower. But as of right now, this is a bullish stance. It's sitting on top of the breakout zone right now, waiting for earnings. Google in itself, again, let's go over to the daily time frame. Trend is our friend. All right, so we had our bearish divergence sitting up here. I counted this perfectly as a 3-wave move up, where we have completed our move. Now, I know that this is a 3-wave move, but this one fits a little bit better as a 1-2, 1-2 setup, and going much lower for earnings. Perhaps it has a really big gap down, and Microsoft is bullish. Very rarely do I see 2 mega stocks heading in the same direction from earnings. Usually one's really good and one is really bad. And the market wants to do, it's going to make its way to its targets no matter what happens. So I do, if I had to guess, I would guess that Google goes lower, Microsoft goes higher to balance that out, and MasterCard, which is, it's nice to see what MasterCard does. I'm not much of a fundamentalist, but it puts its pulse on the consumer. So we'll see what happens there, whether it plays a bullish or bearish. And you can, after the move, you can actually, sorry, my phone. After the move, then we could start looking at some great setups at that point. Whether if it starts going higher, we'll look for put setups, and if it gaps down lower, we'll look for a higher low before jumping into it, unless you're just day trading. Okay, so that's what I got for you. We could expect Apple to help the situation out. We're looking for a higher low. We did in the Discord, we did put a trade. Not in the Discord. I think we did it on Patreon. For members, we did an Apple call on this one because it's possible if that we have our 200-day moving average, we're into that, we're bouncing, and that we break above this high here. Now, Apple only has a 3-wave move, so Apple could be the bearish one and move down lower to kind of fill out this possible pennant. Again, this is a bearish situation, so we only have 3 waves in Apple so far, so we'll have to see how this plays out. If the market is strong, then I think Apple will kind of come back up here as well, and we're looking for a 1-2 setup. And if Apple starts to rise into its earnings, I just keep going on now. Now we're talking about Apple's earnings, and Apple earnings are on the 2nd, so that's next week. If it starts to raise, if it starts to bounce into the earnings, I do think this could be a very, very bearish setup. Well, it's 1-2, 1-2, and then a 1-2 setup for much, much lower. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, see where Apple goes. And other than that, I think we're done here. We'll possibly do a Bitcoin update later on. We missed the move, but now we see where it's going. So we'll talk about that later. Have a great day and enjoy some of that sunshine. Talk to you soon.